Theories of justice. Justice stands as one of philosophy's most enduring and foundational concepts, subject to extensive exploration and debate across centuries. At its core, justice involves ideas of fairness, rightful distribution, retribution, and the preservation of social harmony. Throughout history, philosophers have articulated diverse conceptions of justice, each reflecting particular ethical commitments, metaphysical assumptions, and political ideals. This discussion surveys key theories of justice, highlighting the seminal thinkers behind them, their philosophical foundations, illustrative examples, contemporary relevance, and important critiques. Justice as harmony, Plato's vision. Plato's conception of justice, articulated most famously in the Republic, envisions justice as a form of societal harmony where each individual performs the role for which they are naturally best suited. This ideal society is stratified into three classes: rulers, auxiliaries, and producers, paralleling the tripartite soul, reason, spirit, and appetite. Plato asserts, justice is doing one's own work and not meddling with what isn't one's own, emphasizing that social order and justice emerge when individuals do not overstep their designated functions. Philosophers, equipped with wisdom, are best suited to govern, ensuring the common good prevails. This model champions meritocracy and specialization as pillars of justice. However, critics such as Karl Popper have challenged this vision for its authoritarian implications, arguing that it prioritizes social stability and order at the expense of individual freedoms and pluralism. Aristotle's justice as fairness. Moving from Plato to Aristotle, justice is reframed more concretely as the principle of giving each person their due, underlining proportionality and equity within the political community. Aristotle distinguishes between distributive justice, the fair allocation of resources according to merit or need, and corrective justice, which addresses rectifying wrongs through compensation or punishment. In his Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle claims that justice is the bond of men in states, emphasizing its role as the foundation of political order. For example, a diligent farmer merits more land than one who neglects their duties, reflecting Aristotle's meritocratic but nuanced approach to fairness. His ideas profoundly influenced legal and political systems, emphasizing fairness in allocation. Nonetheless, critics argue that Aristotle's emphasis on meritocracy risks entrenching inequalities by overlooking systemic barriers and structural injustices that impede equal opportunity. Justice as a social contract, Hobbes, Locke, and Rousseau. The social contract tradition reframes justice as an agreement among individuals to form a society, thereby ensuring mutual protection and cooperation. Thomas Hobbes, in Leviathan, argues that justice arises only through the enforcement of laws by a sovereign power, necessary to prevent the chaos of the natural state. He famously stated, "Covenants, without the sword, are but words," illustrating the need for authority to uphold justice. While this underpins modern governance structures, Hobbes's model has been criticized for justifying authoritarian regimes. John Locke advances the social contract by focusing on protecting natural rights, life, liberty, and property. For Locke, where there is no law, there is no freedom, highlighting justice's role in safeguarding individual freedoms. Yet, Locke's strong emphasis on property rights has faced critique for legitimizing colonial exploitation and social inequality. Jean-Jacques Rousseau adds a collective dimension, asserting that justice preserves freedom through participation in the general will, famously declaring, "Man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains." Critics of Rousseau caution that this collective ideal risks suppressing dissent and individual autonomy in favor of an abstract communal good. Utilitarianism and justice, Bentham and Mill. Utilitarian justice defines right and wrong by their consequences for overall happiness, seeking to maximize pleasure and minimize pain for the greatest number. Jeremy Bentham established this principle, stating, "It is the greatest happiness of the greatest number that is the measure of right and wrong." From this perspective, laws and policies are just if they promote aggregate well-being, such as prioritizing healthcare resources to save the most lives. John Stuart Mill refined utilitarianism by differentiating higher and lower pleasures, arguing that qualitative distinctions matter in evaluating happiness. Despite its practical appeal, utilitarianism faces critiques, most notably from John Rawls, who warn that its focus on aggregate happiness can trample individual rights, potentially justifying grave injustices such as exploitation or slavery if such actions increase collective utility. John Rawls and justice as fairness. In the 20th century, John Rawls profoundly reshaped theories of justice with his seminal work A Theory of Justice, 1971. Rawls introduces the original position, a hypothetical scenario where individuals choose principles of justice behind a veil of ignorance, unaware of their social standing or personal circumstances. This ensures impartiality in selecting fair rules. Rawls articulates two fundamental principles: first, the guarantee of equal basic liberties for all; second, the difference principle, which permits social and economic inequalities only if they benefit the least advantaged. Rawls famously proclaimed, "Justice is the first virtue of social institutions, as truth is of systems of thought." His theory underpins progressive policies, such as redistributive taxation aimed at reducing inequality. Nevertheless, libertarian critics like Robert Nozick argue that Rawls's approach unjustly infringes upon personal property rights and individual liberty. Capability approach, Sen and Nussbaum. Amartya Sen and Martha Nussbaum advance the capability approach, shifting the focus from mere resource distribution to what individuals are actually able to do and be, their real freedoms and opportunities. Sen's assertion that development is freedom emphasizes expanding individual capabilities as central to justice. Nussbaum further delineates a list of essential human capabilities, including health, education, and political participation, which societies must secure for justice to prevail. This framework highlights the necessity of overcoming systemic barriers such as poverty and discrimination to enable meaningful lives. For instance, ensuring universal access to quality education empowers individuals to contribute fully to society. Critics, however, caution that attempts to define universal capabilities may impose culturally specific values onto diverse populations, risking ethical imperialism. Postmodern and critical perspectives on justice. Contemporary critical theories challenge traditional conceptions of justice by emphasizing its contingent, power-laden nature. Michel Foucault analyzes justice as inseparable from social power structures, arguing that justice must continually interrogate itself and the institutions that claim to uphold it. He contends, justice must always question itself, just as society can exist only by means of the work it does on itself, and on its institutions. This perspective exposes how dominant cultural narratives shape definitions of what is deemed just. Nancy Fraser builds on this critique by advocating for participatory justice, which addresses both economic redistribution and cultural recognition, seeking to rectify both material inequalities and misrecognition of marginalized identities. Although influential, critics note that postmodern approaches sometimes lack clear, actionable frameworks for achieving justice, focusing more on critique than constructive solutions. Philosophical roots and ongoing debates. Justice is deeply rooted in ethical inquiry, spanning from Aristotle's virtue ethics, which links justice to moral character, to Kant's deontological ethics emphasizing duty, and universal moral law. Social and political philosophy interrogates questions of governance, power, and social order, while metaphysics and epistemology engage with the nature of fairness and how knowledge of justice is possible. Contemporary debates revolve around universalism versus relativism, whether justice principles apply universally or are culturally contingent, as well as tensions between individual rights and collective welfare. Additionally, ideal theories like Rawls's vision of a perfectly just society are contrasted with non-ideal theories that emphasize addressing real-world injustices and imperfections. Relevance to everyday life. Theories of justice resonate beyond academic discourse, profoundly influencing law, governance, and ethical decision-making. Social contract theories inform constitutional frameworks and rule of law, while utilitarian and capability approaches shape economic policies including taxation, healthcare, and social welfare programs. Aristotle's focus on fairness and Rawls's commitment to equality provide enduring frameworks for personal and organizational ethics, guiding actions toward justice in everyday contexts. Moreover, critical theories underpin social movements that advocate for racial, gender, and economic justice, reminding us that justice is a living, evolving pursuit embedded in societal struggles. Conclusion? From Plato's vision of harmony to Rawls's rigorous theory of fairness, philosophical theories of justice offer rich and diverse insights into the nature of ethical societies. While each theory emerges from specific historical and cultural contexts, together they illuminate fundamental questions about fairness, rights, and equality. Their limitations and critiques spur ongoing reflection and adaptation, encouraging us to deepen our understanding of justice and its implications. Whether in governance, social policy, or personal conduct, engaging with these ideas equips us to better navigate the complexities of justice in everyday life. If you found this exploration insightful, please like and subscribe to stay tuned for more deep dives into philosophy and its impact on our world.